Hi everyone and welcome back to Beyond Borders Teaching. I'm your host Selena. Thank you for joining us again this week. And if you are here for the first time, welcome to my channel where weekly I give you a touch, a taste, my personal perspective and experience of teaching abroad. Thank you for tuning in to the end of another productive, successful, wonderful school year. I must say, this year has continued to teach me a lot, and there are a few things that truly stood out, and things I would like to change going forward into the next school year. So that will be the topic of today. I'd like to share part of this discussion today. I wanted to share things that speak to the lessons I learned throughout the school year. So I'd say flexibility. One, flexibility is a survival trait you must have within surviving the school year. So I often had to find myself changing up things, sometimes weekly, daily, of course, depending on what may be going on in school that week, depending on the challenges that might be taking place in my class, depending on the needs of my students. So flexibility is one of the things that was key. And going forward, I need to keep reminding myself to be flexible, to be adaptable, so that it brings me peace and it allows me not to become overwhelmed or stressed out throughout the school year. So that's an advice I'd recommend to anyone: to be flexible, to be adaptable, to be able to enjoy your school time, because you want to have that balance, and it comes to being able to be flexible. I would say for me as well, another lesson I learned this year is that connection beats content. Of course, in our respective schools or country, we are required to follow the guidelines of the curriculum, the unit, the prepared lesson plans, whatever it may be. But I would have also shared this in other previous episodes that, of course, building that connection with the kids is gold towards really getting out of them, towards really allowing them to shine in whichever way they can shine, as well as to really tap into getting them motivated and having that confidence and working with them to the level they are at, and really being able to differentiate your instruction. So that's something I learned this year, I knew previously, and it's continued to be a gold star for me, working on that connection with the kids in order to grow them, in order to pull the best out of them. They are all diamonds, and it's just about sometimes finding it. It's about pulling it out. It's about they realizing that they have the ability to do amazing and wonderful things. So having that connection really allows you to be the best in order to deliver the content, in order to be able to deliver things as it should. Because sometimes following exactly what the guide says may not work for that child. Children are all different. We are all different. So sometimes you need to tweak things or make it work in the way in which it would work for each particular student. So that was one of my lessons I continue to learn this year and develop on, building those connections so that the children can really absorb, retain, and understand the content. Another lesson I learned this year, well, these are my top three, is boundaries matter. And today, actually, I returned that book to the library. It's called Set Boundaries, Find Peace. And it talks about various types of boundaries, the ones with your family, the ones with your kids, ones at work. So I would have also been implementing and will continue to implement those boundaries at work. So in the book, it's an excellent read, I must say. It speaks a lot about creating boundaries at work, what are some unhealthy boundaries at work, and how to navigate around them. So I will continue to look at those things going forward within myself, self-examine, reflect on my days to see how I can work those boundaries. And the boundaries are not, of course, only for the adults, but of course they are for the kids too. They are for you, they are for life. Boundaries truly brings about peace. So whether it be prioritizing what you need to prioritize now, in order to have a smooth running of the day and then getting back to the other things you need to. That's a boundary as well you could work on. Or for persons who may stay back after school, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, the school has closed and you're there. That's something as well where time management comes in to help you to respect your boundaries in terms of getting back to your homes, to your families, or whatever it is within a reasonable amount. With regards to boundaries as well, I would say boundaries, having healthy boundaries allowed me to protect my energy so that I didn't have teacher burnout. I wasn't overwhelmed. I wasn't stressed out. I was able to carry on with my day productively. Now, my first year here, of course, that was a lot of different elements to endure. So my first year, my school would have ended at 3, and sometimes I'm leaving school at 4 o'clock, I'm leaving school at 5 o'clock, because of course there was a lot to do in regards to planning, and there's always a lot to do in teaching. It's not that I'm saying now in my third year there's not a lot to do. There still is a lot to do. But for my first teaching year, that was my year to start to develop having these boundaries, start to working on my time management skills so I'm not burnt out, I'm not overwhelmed, I'm not to the end of my rope wanting to quit and give up because it's too much. So having time management skills help you to keep those boundaries, as well as if it is you are feeling too overwhelmed by the duties, responsibilities, or whatever it is imposed on you in your school. I always am a person about communication. Nobody knows what you are going through. And some of us, we are very good at wearing masks. We smile, we say okay to things, but inside it's not okay. We are overwhelmed. There's too much on our plate and we are not seeing anything. And we are just thinking, okay, well, the person's supposed to know. Why are they asking me this? Truthfully, they may not know. So I'd say one of the things that helps with creating helpful, healthy boundaries is to communicate. If something is too much, it's better to say it than to do whatever it is and then grow resentment. It's one of the things actually from the book I read as well, where of course, if you're not setting healthy boundaries, it could lead to when you do the task or do whatever it is you needed to do, you may then resent for having to do it when it was not something you could have done. So that's one of the things that helped me to enjoy my school year and have that peace and not burn out, is setting those healthy boundaries. And as I said, it also extends to the kids, creating boundaries for them. Now, in my country, we have a saying, you give them an inch and they take a yard. So oftentimes kids may ask certain things of you, they may request certain things of you, and you may tell them, well, if you want to do X, you're going to need to finish your work, or you're going to need to do whatever it is you may suggest. And then they may not do what was your bargain for them getting the reward. And then, because, as educators, we tend to sometimes, of course, feel sorry for the kids and, okay, well, you didn't do what you were supposed to do, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. That's something then is going to cost you in the long run, not creating that healthy boundaries of keeping them accountable to whatever was promised. So that's one example. I'm sure there are many others that you can think of where boundaries is key within the relationship among colleagues, administration, as well as, of course, the kids. So boundaries, that was something I really learned more about this year. For the second part, I wanted to talk about something I'd like to change going forward for next year. Something I love to do is reflect and journal and spend time thinking about how can I make things better. So one of the things I reflected on going forward is I need to get more organized. Oftentimes I am overwhelmed in my daily tasks, things to do. There's never enough time in the day to get it done, but I know it's something I would like to get better at, and I'm going to work towards it in my teaching year, my next year, about to get more organized. Something I need to get better control of is my desk paperwork, to get that flow correctly, because oftentimes there are many things to correct on my desk, things to hand out, things to do, notes I've made, and it gets overwhelming. And of course, when places are cleaned and organized, it brings about a sense of tranquility, it brings about a peacefulness, and I really need to have that more in my life and my classroom. So I was thinking to do a weekly refresh going forward, like every Friday, make sure I sort out my paperwork and have everything organized for the following week, as well as probably getting a shelf or a drawer or something where I can put work to be corrected, work corrected, so that that can help with the flow of paperwork on my desk, so I know what was already done, what has to be done, and everything is not piling up on my desk. And less clutter, less stress, as I said before. So having that clean space going forward is something I would like to improve on, so that I can have a smoother transition within my use of the digital tools. Oftentimes grading, we have various grading periods throughout the school year. And for those grading periods, sometimes I'm looking for work that I've corrected before. Where did I put it to enter in the grades? Or I'm finding work. Okay, we have grades to go in Friday. They did something on Monday. Okay, let me correct it now to make sure to put in the grades. But I need to probably find another way about going about that. So I was thinking to probably going forward, find ways to post things online that they can do, and it will self-correct, so that way it will take away from me having to get many textbooks or whatever worksheet I give to correct to enter for grades. So working smarter, not too harder, not too much harder. So I was thinking to possibly start posting more stuff that would self-correct and would save me the trouble. However, that isn't ideal for everything, but I do think it's something I could implement for various things that would be helpful. Also, with doing things online, it provides, of course, instant feedback if it self-corrects and you are able to look at the data. If things are posted, for example, on Mastery Tracker, you're able to look at the data directly, which will further help with you planning small group plans, planning for your class, whatever. Thing is to figure out a simple tracking system. Oftentimes this year, I would have had like a particular folder in which once the kids completed their work, I would put it in that folder. However, throughout this year, I found myself sometimes not remembering to put it in that specific folder, or when I am looking to look at their grades to make sure all grades are in, I'm like, okay, I didn't get back this worksheet from this child, or this child didn't finish this work in the textbook. So I was thinking to probably develop a spreadsheet or a checklist of some sort in which I could keep track of who turned in their work, who did not turn in their work, so that I can stay on task and stay on track, as well as make sure my students are on track with submitting their work on time. So when it's grading period, I'm not only then realizing that they didn't submit something. So that's something I really want to get better with going into the next year, being more organized in those weeks. In closing, this year has taught me 3 things, as I would have shared: how important it is to stay flexible and adaptable, how important it is to stay connected, know your kids, connect with them so you can teach the content better, and lastly, of course, boundaries. Having healthy boundaries at work, with your kids, with your colleagues, with administration, having those healthy boundaries really helps to have a more peaceful working environment. And of course, one thing going forward I am going to change is being more organized. So thank you for tuning in, listening to my talk, my TED talk. And I hope you all have a fantastic, wonderful end of the year. Tomorrow for some of us, depending on the state you are at or the country you're in. So I hope you have a fantastic vacation for those teachers who are going on break on Friday. And thank you as always for tuning in. Please remember to like, follow, share, and subscribe. And leave us a comment down below. What did you learn or plan to change for the next school year? Thanks again. Bye everyone.